Behind every powerful cartel boss lies a story of passion, betrayal, and danger, with a partner who knows how to play the game. From Pablo Escobar and Maria Victoria Henao, whose fiery bond fueled an empire, to the cunning charm of Sandra Avila Beltran, who used beauty and love as her greatest weapon, these couples ruled the underworld with passion and brutality. Alberto Bravo and Griselda Blanco. Their relationship was a storm of seduction and chaos. Alberto Bravo and Griselda Blanco weren't just partners in crime, they were lovers driven by raw passion and dangerous ambition. Alberto Bravo was a Colombian drug trafficker who was instrumental in the rise of his wife, Griselda Blanco, as he was also a key figure in the Medellin Cartel, one of the most notorious drug trafficking organizations in the world. He was a small-time criminal who became involved in the drug trade in the early 1970s. He met Griselda Blanco in the mid-1970s, and they quickly became involved in a romantic relationship. Bravo was impressed by Blanco's ambition and ruthlessness, and he saw her as a valuable partner in the drug trade. Bravo and Blanco quickly became one of the most powerful drug trafficking couples in Colombia. They smuggled substances into the United States from Colombia, and they also ran a network of drug dealers in New York City. Alberto Bravo's relationship with Griselda Blanco was complex and often violent. The two were married for many years, but their relationship was often marked by infidelity and jealousy. Bravo was also jealous of Blanco's success, and he was often critical of her methods. Alberto Bravo died in 2021. He was 73 years old. Bravo's death was not widely publicized, but it was reported by a few news outlets. Blanco's reputation for smuggling substances from the notorious Medellin Cartel of Colombia to the United States earned her the nickname La Madrina, the Godmother. Her drug operation was one of the largest of the dozen so-called Colombian mafias in the United States. After she killed her 3 husbands in a fit of pique, people called her the Black Widow. She liked to serve substances to young girls and watch them pose nude. She held frequent orgies at her Miami home. Another anecdote dubbed her as compassionate for agreeing to a doomed man's wish that instead of decapitating him, she'd shoot him in the head. On September 3, 2012, the 69-year-old Blanco stood in a butcher shop in Medellin when an assassin drove up on a motorcycle, fired 2 shots from a handgun into her head, and sped away. Even in retirement from crime, she could not escape her ruthless past. While Blanco was known for her ruthless leadership, Escobar and his wife were equally notorious for their brutal tactics. Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria and Maria Victoria Henao. Would you believe that Pablo Escobar first noticed Maria Victoria Henao when she was just 12 years old, her youthful beauty leaving an unforgettable mark on him? Often referred to as the world's greatest outlaw, Escobar was perhaps the most elusive cocaine trafficker to have ever existed. He is considered the king of cocaine and is known as the lord of all drug lords. In 1989, Forbes magazine declared Escobar as the 7th richest man in the world, with an estimated personal fortune of $30 billion. Escobar was the boss of the famous Medellin Cartel, the most powerful drug empire to exist, and is said to have had over twice the power and money of their rivals, the Cali Cartel. Pablo is known as Paisa Robin Hood for his contributions to the poor, but was also known for murdering anyone who got in his way. Maria met Pablo when she was just 12 years old and he was 23. He was the first and only love of her life. She endured affairs, insults, humiliations, lies, loneliness, raids, death threats, terrorist attacks, kidnapping attempts on her children, and even long periods of confinement and exile, all for love. How could you sleep with that monster? One of the victims of Maria's husband, Pablo Escobar, asked me, "Why didn't you do anything?" The answer was because she loved him, and while many may find that response inadequate, the truth is that's the reason she remained by his side till the end of his life, even though she disagreed with his actions and decisions innumerable times. However, Escobar's personal relationships were far from simple. Alongside his marriage, he had numerous mistresses, some of whom had significant relationships with him for years. These women were often drawn into his lavish lifestyle, receiving extravagant gifts and living in luxury. Many of these mistresses had children with Escobar, though they lived in the shadow of his criminal world, often hidden from the public eye. Even in his private life, Escobar maintained an iron grip over those closest to him, treating them as pawns in his quest for dominance and control. On December 2nd, a rival gang member killed Escobar on a rooftop. Maria remained fiercely loyal to Pablo, loving him through every situation, while Amado's wife, in stark contrast, betrayed her husband multiple times. Amado Carrillo Fuentes and Sandra Avila Beltran. In a dim Mexico City nightclub, Sandra Avila Beltran's emerald eyes searched for her next conquest to seduce. When they locked up with the notorious drug lord Amado Carrillo Fuentes, a dangerous spark ignited. Sandra didn't have a chance at a normal life. She was practically born into the Sinaloa cartel. Her mother's family was run by notorious heroin smugglers. Her father, Alfonso Avila Quintero, was the brother of Guadalajara cartel leader Rafael Caro Quintero. When she was 21, Sandra started dating Amado Carrillo Fuentes, the boss of the Juarez cartel. Around the same time, she became a prominent figure in the Sinaloa cartel, overseeing a legal substance shipment to the United States. Her relationship with Fuentes didn't last long, but she'd have many more, and her 2 marriages would be more tactical than romantic. Her husbands were former police commanders turned traffickers. These men knew the ins and outs of navigating the Mexican criminal underworld, and their insights helped her dodge the law and become a major player in the drug smuggling trade. Another one of her rumored lovers was El Chapo himself. No one knows just how romantic their relationship was, but one thing is certain: they were once very close, and Sandra was head of public relations for the Sinaloa cartel. Then Sandra had yet another tumultuous affair with Juan Diego Espinoza Ramirez, also called the Tiger. The Tiger had strong connections to the Norte del Valle cartel in Colombia. This was just the open door Sandra needed. Colombian and Mexican cartels were now united, and she was making more money for Sinaloa than ever before. Sandra got her nickname the Queen of the Pacific. She also got hundreds of officers on her tail, working hard to arrest her and bring down the Sinaloa cartel. She lived 6 years on the run and suffered the kidnapping of her son as a result of her violent means of negotiation. After Sandra's story, we have another famous cartel couple, El Chapo and Emma Coronel Aispuro. In the dangerous world of cartels, Emma Coronel Aispuro was known for her stunning beauty and hotness. While El Chapo controlled the drug trade, it was Emma who truly held his heart. The California native met her husband at a party thrown by her Mexican-born drug trafficking father in 2006 when she was 17. A year later, she was crowned Miss Coffee and Guava in Canelas, a town in northwestern Mexico. The couple announced their plans to marry in the run-up to the pageant, and many have suggested that she won the title because of El Chapo's influence. Since she appeared at her coronation in a diamond-encrusted crown, El Chapo dubbed her his Little Queen. El Chapo proposed to the beauty queen at the contest, flanked by 100 of his hitmen. They were married on her 18th birthday, July 3, 2007. El Chapo was 50 years old at the time of the ceremony. The nickname stuck, and she has been known as La Reinita to her husband's cartel cohort ever since. In 2011, she gave birth to the couple's twins, Maria and Emali. 3 years later, El Chapo, by then one of the world's biggest drug lords, was arrested by Mexican authorities for running his drug empire. Coronel Aispuro helped her husband distribute cocaine and passed on messages to the cartel while he was imprisoned in Mexico, according to the FBI. She was also a constant presence at his trial in federal court in Brooklyn, which began in November 2018 and ended in February 2019. Extramarital affairs are common in the cartel world, as even cartel boss Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo often neglected his wife Elvira in favor of other women. Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo and Maria Elvira Murillo de Felix.
Mi abogado Martínez Inglés me dijo, no estás involucrado, nunca platiques.
In the cartel world, Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo's magnetic presence drew all eyes, but it was Maria Elvira Murillo de Felix who ignited his deepest desires and fantasies. Known as El Padrino, the Godfather, and El Jefe de Jefes, the boss of extramarital affairs bosses, Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo was the founder and former leader of the Guadalajara cartel. Maria Elvira Murillo de Felix was the second wife of former Mexican drug lord Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo. While initially supportive of her husband dealing drugs on a small scale with Rafael Caro Quintero, she begins to feel disgruntled after her husband devotes all his life to running his cartel and starts having extramarital relationships with several women, providing them with expensive gifts. She tried to convince her husband to run his cartel from Sinaloa, but he refused and coldly tells her that she isn't needed anymore. The couple subsequently divorced, and she relocated back to Sinaloa with her children. After he survived an attempt on his life by the Gulf Cartel, Felix fled to Sinaloa, but she refused to reunite with him. However, she violently confronted her ex-husband after she learnt of his role in the tragic murder of Guadalupe Lea Serrano and her 2 children. She berates him for his brutality and stabs him with a knife as he tries to calm her down. This prompted Felix to leave her forever and move back to Guadalajara. Despite unfaithfulness being common among cartel couples, Ovidio Guzman Lopez stands out as a unique cartel boss for his unwavering loyalty to his wife, Adriana. Ovidio Guzman Lopez and Adriana Meza Torres In a world full of danger, can the intense passion between Adriana and Ovidio last, or will their love be destroyed by Adriana's hunger for love and seduction? Only time will tell. Unlike other drug traffickers, El Raton has only had one known partner, Adriana Meza Torres, the mother of his 3 daughters. Although there are few known personal details of the youngest member of Los Chapitos, various journalistic reports indicate that he is the least controversial character of the quartet, and unlike his brothers or other members of organized crime, Ovidio Guzman kept a low profile. Another aspect for which El Raton has stood out within the history of the Sinaloa cartel is his little interest in women. Ovidio Guzman has been a rare character within the Sinaloa cartel because of the love he professes for Meza Torres, even more so because despite the problems they have faced at some points in their relationship, he was always faithful to her. Adriana is the daughter of Raul Meza Ontiveros, alias M6, a member of great importance for the Sinaloa cartel, who was murdered on March 27, 2007, in the residential area of Montebello, Culiacan. Her brother, Raul Meza Torres, known as El Mini 6, also entered the drug business, but received the same fate as his father. He died during a confrontation with municipal police from Zapopan, Jalisco, at the age of 18. Her family's relationship with the senior leaders of the Sinaloa cartel would have caused her, at an early age, to meet and fall in love with Ovidio Guzman. A source close to the couple said that Meza Torres physically abused El Chapo's son. He never dared to raise his hand to his wife. The thing is that she was the From time to time, she zapped him in public. This information agrees with the statements of Damaso Lopez Serrano. He was very bossy. His wife completely dominated him. I've known them since we were young. I saw that relationship since they were dating. I know Adriana and Ovidio completely, and I got to see everything firsthand, all their arguments, said the former drug trafficker. Just as Adriana holds sway over cartel boss Ovidio, the Camorra cartel presents another power dynamic where Maria Licciardi wields greater influence than her husband, Antonio Tagami and Maria Licciardi. Maria Licciardi knew from early on what the Camorra was and who ran it. She grew up in a family of killers and Camorra members. All her brothers were active Camorra members. One of them, her brother Gennaro, the monkey Licciardi, had become boss and ruled supreme. Her husband Antonio Tegami was also a member. All in all, you could say every man in Maria Licciardi's life was a Camorra member. Growing up, Maria Licciardi's role was still that of a wife, and in the mob world, the role of the wife was to be loyal, tight-lipped, cook, clean, and raise the kids. But with the crackdown by the Italian government on organized crime that put countless members and bosses behind bars and the bloody wars that decimated the clans and families, the role of the woman began to change. Maria had to wait. In line before her were her 2 brothers, Pietro and Vincenzo, as well as her husband Antonio Tegami. But as time went by, they all were unable to take control, getting whacked or arrested, and so Maria's time had come. It didn't go easy. Not only did she lose her brothers and husband, but she also had to prove her qualities to the other bosses and, more importantly, her soldiers. And as soon as Maria Licciardi was in place, she proved it. One of the things Licciardi did was get her family into the prostitution trade. Until then, the family had always stayed out of that business because of a code of honor. But under Licciardi, that code was broken. They bought the girls from the Albanian mafia, put them on the street, and money was flowing in. Girls were put on drugs so they wouldn't become an informant or run away. When the girls had become too old, they were killed. Neapolitan police came after her with an arrest warrant in 1999. She went into hiding until officers pulled a car over outside Naples and caught her in it in 2001. Next on our list is the renowned El Mayo and his stunning wife, who stood by his side and worked alongside him. Ismael El Mayo Zambada and Rosario Niebla Cardoza. Ismael El Mayo Zambada's magnetic charm drew many women to him, but it was Rosario Niebla Cardoza's irresistible beauty that set his heart racing. With El Chapo in jail, and rather unlikely to be out anytime soon, a new boss was needed for the Sinaloa cartel. Guzman's sons would take on more responsibility, and his wife Emma certainly pitched in, but the throne could only accept one man, Ismael El Mayo Zambada, El Chapo's longtime partner and friend. El Mayo may not be a progressive man in many areas of life, but when it comes to women and organized crime, he's a veritable feminist and certainly not sexist when it comes to women working for the cartel. El Mayo's wife, Rosario Niebla Cardoza, as well as all of his 4 daughters, Maria Teresa, Miriam Patricia, Monica del Rosario, and Modesta, all work for the family business, helping distribute narcotics and, more importantly, launder cash. Ismael El Mayo Zambada and Rosario Niebla Cardoza shared a partnership that went far beyond the cartel's shadowy corridors. Rosario, often described as breathtakingly beautiful, was not just El Mayo's wife, but also his confidant and ally in the dangerous world of drug trafficking. Her allure was matched by her cunning, making her an irresistible and powerful figure by his side. While El Mayo commanded respect, Rosario captivated and commanded hearts, making their partnership a blend of dominance and seduction that left an indelible mark on cartel history. Cartel women are often very beautiful, and Clara Elena Labarin was no different. Her husband, Hector Beltran Leyva, treated her like a trophy because of her beauty. Hector Beltran Leyva and Clara Elena Labarin. In 2016, authorities arrested Clara Elena Labarin, a former beauty queen from Sonora State who had married Hector Beltran Leyva, El Chapo's former partner in the Sinaloa cartel. Labarin is known as La Señora, or the Mrs., because her husband treated her like a trophy bride. In 2008, Beltran Leyva broke with El Chapo and formed his own cartel after his brother and business partner Alfredo was arrested by Mexican authorities. Beltran Leyva suspected that El Chapo had snitched on his sibling to authorities, so he launched a bloody war against the Sinaloa cartel. Labarin was enlisted to direct the money laundering component of her husband's Beltran Leyva cartel. In 2010, she was kidnapped by a rival group and photographed in captivity, blindfolded and with her feet and hands bound, with automatic rifles pointed at her. After 13 days, she was released and returned to manage the cartel's finances. 4 years later, when her husband was arrested, Labarin became the head of the cartel, launching one of the bloodiest waves of violence in Acapulco. Hers was a brutal campaign for dominance that turned the resort city into Mexico's murder capital. Tourists were caught in the crossfire and forced to step over bullet-riddled bodies on beaches as the Beltran Leyva cartel fought their rivals in the independent cartel of Acapulco. Labarin said she is no longer part of the cartel. Women in the cartels have shown that they can be as brutal as some of the men, Almonte said. Let's take you to Mexico, known as the home of organized crime and cartels. Here, the El Mencho couple founded the CJNG, spreading fear worldwide with their brutality. Nemesio El Mencho and Rosalinda Gonzalez Valencia. Nemesio El Mencho Oseguera's strong presence was matched by the seductive beauty of Rosalinda Gonzalez Valencia, who could enchant anyone. Born into poverty in Mexico, El Mencho grew avocados and dropped out of primary school before immigrating illegally to the U.S. in the 1980s. He eventually climbed to the top of the criminal organization and founded the CJNG after several of his bosses were arrested or killed. His notoriety is also a result of his aggressive leadership and sensationalist acts of violence against both rival criminal groups and Mexican security forces alike. Rosalinda Gonzalez Valencia, also known as La Jefa, married one of the DEA's most wanted drug traffickers, Nemesio El Mencho Oseguera Cervantes. Nemesio El Mencho and Rosalinda Gonzalez Valencia were a powerful couple whose partnership blended danger and desire. Rosalinda, with her striking looks and commanding presence, was more than just the wife of a feared cartel leader. She was a force to be reckoned with. El Mencho's obsession with her went beyond love, as her intelligence and allure became central to their empire's rise. Together, they ruled the CJN cartel with an iron fist, their passionate bond fueling their reign of terror. Their children, particularly their daughter, Jessica Johanna, and son, Ruben Oseguera Gonzalez, known as El Menchito, played significant roles in the CJNG. Jessica, often seen flaunting her lavish lifestyle, became a symbol of their wealth and influence. Meanwhile, El Menchito was groomed to be his father's successor, actively participating in the cartel's operations. Beyond El Mencho, another infamous name in the world of cartels is Pedro Flores, who along with his twin brother Margarito, ran a major drug trafficking operation. Pedro Flores and Viviana Lopez. Pedro Flores worked alongside his hot and beautiful wife, Viviana Lopez, in the dangerous world of cartels. Viviana, who was just as involved in the operations, helped manage the logistical side of their criminal empire. Together, they built a powerful network that smuggled large amounts of cocaine and heroin into the United States. While Pedro played a crucial role in orchestrating the shipments, Viviana's business acumen and dedication were equally important in maintaining the flow of illicit drugs. Their partnership was one of both love and criminal ambition, with Viviana playing a central role in the operation's success. Flores was sentenced for laundering drug money made by her trafficker husband turned government informant, Pedro Flores. He was one of the infamous Flores twins. Pedro and his brother Margarito were the Chicago tag team for the Sinaloa cartel, owned and operated by Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. El Chapo is now serving a life sentence himself. The court filing said she did so even after she and her co-defendant Viviana Lopez turned in approximately $4 million in drug proceeds documents that was represented to the government as being the remaining cash from the husband's drug operation. This was false, however. It was reported that the stashed cash was used to pay for global vacations, $165,000 for private schools, shopping sprees, a J-Lo concert, and even currency laundered through friendly gas stations. In court documents, the government asked that Ms. Flores receive at least a 9-year sentence, while she requested probation and strict home confinement. Pedro Flores and his wife weren't alone in their criminal activities. Pedro's twin brother, Margarito Flores, and his wife, Olivia Flores, were also deeply involved. Margarito Flores and Olivia Flores.
We need security because we are being hunted by the Mexican cartel.
Margarito, along with his twin brother Pedro, became a key figure in smuggling large quantities of cocaine and heroin from Mexico into the United States. The Flores brothers were trusted partners of some of Mexico's most powerful cartels, including the Sinaloa cartel, and their operation was one of the largest drug distribution networks. Olivia played a critical role in supporting her husband's operations, managing logistics and ensuring the smooth flow of illegal shipments. In 2008, both Margarito and Pedro were arrested and cooperated with authorities in exchange for reduced sentences. They provided crucial information about their cartel connections, further damaging the power of the drug syndicates. Olivia, too, faced legal consequences for her involvement, and the couple's criminal empire came to a dramatic halt. When her husbands were in prison, authorities said the wife got greedy, spending $869,000 on vacations, cars, clothing, private school tuition, and a new business startup, ironically, a cleaning firm. After their arrests, Olivia's involvement in the drug trade was revealed, and her cooperation with law enforcement ultimately helped dismantle parts of the operation. The next cartel boss on our list is Roberto Suarez Gomez, who alongside his wife established drug laboratories deep in the Amazon jungle. Roberto Suarez Gomez and Ada Levy Martinez. Do you know Roberto Suarez Gomez used his stunning wife, Ada Levy Martinez, as a tempting lure in his dangerous world of illicit trade? Roberto Suarez Gomez, also known as the King of Cocaine, was a Bolivian drug lord and trafficker who played a major role in the expansion of cocaine trafficking in Bolivia. In his prime, Suarez made $400 million annually, was one of the major suppliers of the Medellin cartel, as well as the leader of the largest Bolivian drug empire, and was considered to be the biggest cocaine producer in the world. Suarez started building cocaine laboratories in the middle of the Bolivian Amazon jungle and in the zone of Los Yungas at the end of the 1960s and created the first cocaine cartel in Bolivia called La Corporación. Ada Levy Martinez, his wife, was not just a passive partner in the empire. She was actively involved in managing their drug operations. Ada played a crucial role in overseeing the production and distribution of cocaine, handling the logistical side of their business, and ensuring the smooth flow of illicit goods. Her involvement extended to maintaining ties with other cartel members and ensuring the safety of their operations, often working behind the scenes to protect the couple's interests. The couple had 4 children, Roberto, Gary, Heidi, and Harold Suarez Levy. Suarez's son, Roberto Robbie Levy, was killed by Bolivian police and DEA agents on March 22, 1990 in Santa Cruz. On Thursday evening, July 20, 2000, Suarez died from a heart attack in Santa Cruz, Bolivia, weeks before his death. In a TV interview, Suarez expressed remorse for his crimes and stated, "The worst mistake I ever made in my life was to have gotten involved in cocaine trafficking." Suarez was buried in a small niche in Cochabamba. Following Suarez and Ida, we have CJ&G boss Julio Alberto Castillo Rodriguez, whose wife was his strongest ally. Julio Alberto Castillo Rodriguez and Jessica Johanna Oseguera Gonzalez. Like El Mencho, his daughter was very sexy and hot, and she ruled the crime world along with her husband Julio through power and seduction. Julio Alberto Castillo Rodriguez, commonly referred to by his alias Ojo de Vidrio, is a Mexican high-ranking leader of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, a criminal group based in Jalisco. He is the son-in-law of Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, known as El Mencho, one of Mexico's most wanted drug lords. He was reportedly responsible for managing money laundering schemes for the CJNG. His personal life, especially his marriage to Jessica Johanna Oseguera Gonzalez, added another layer to his notorious image. Their married life was intertwined with the criminal activities of the CJNG, with Jessica playing a key role in maintaining and expanding the cartel's influence. While much of their personal life remained private, it is clear that Jessica's deep ties to her father's criminal empire and her support for Julio were essential in their partnership. The couple's marriage was not only a personal bond, but also a strategic alliance that helped maintain the cartel's operations Rodriguez and reinforced the Oseguera family's dominance in the world of organized crime. Subsequently, on April 6, 2016, now in Guadalajara, Jalisco, federal agents arrived at home and arrested Castillo Rodriguez, as well as two of his companions, Edgar Ernesto Moreno Barragan and Jose Antonio Rodriguez Contreras. On the 20th of October 2016, Castillo Rodriguez's wife issued a writ of amparo to prevent her arrest and deposited $24,000 in bond insurance. This request was submitted through an appeal court in Jalisco. She had previously issued another writ of amparo against the National Banking and Securities Commission after the PGR froze her bank accounts as part of an investigation. She owned a sushi restaurant chain in Guadalajara and Puerto Vallarta, a rental cabin business in Tapalpa, and a tequila company in Tepatitlan. Investigators believed that she was laundering money for the CJNG through these businesses. 2 months later, on the 30th of December 2016, an appeal court denied her writ of amparo. The last on our list is Manuel Noriega, a Panamanian cartel boss who married a school teacher, captivated by her beauty. Manuel Noriega and Felicidad Sierro. Manuel Noriega was drawn to Felicidad Sierro's irresistible beauty, igniting a fiery passion between them. Manuel Noriega, once the powerful leader of Panama, was deeply involved in the world of drug trafficking. Using his position as the head of the Panamanian military, he controlled the country's drug trade and worked closely with notorious cartels like Medellin and Cali. His influence in the illegal cocaine market helped him amass a massive fortune. Despite his ties to U.S. intelligence agencies, Noriega's relationship with the United States became strained when his criminal activities grew more apparent. This led to the U.S. invasion of Panama in 1989, which ultimately ended his rule. In the late 1960s, Noriega married Felicidad Sierro, a school teacher, and they had 3 daughters, Lorena, Sandra, and Thais. Felicidad came from a Basque family, and her relatives were not pleased with her choice of Noriega as a husband, especially as his power grew and his criminal activities became more well known. Noriega, known for his affairs, was unfaithful to Felicidad throughout their marriage. This caused tension between them, and at one point, Felicidad considered divorcing him. However, she later decided against it, possibly due to the complexities of their life together and Noriega's influence. As Noriega's power grew, so did his reputation as a cartel boss. He wasn't just a military leader, he controlled the drug trade, making huge profits from smuggling cocaine. His rise to power, however, came at a heavy personal cost. Felicidad was caught in the middle of Noriega's double life, a public leader and dangerous criminal. Despite his betrayal and the constant struggles in their marriage, she remained with him until his eventual fall from power, showing the complicated reality of their life together. That's it for today's look at cartel bosses and their wives. What do you think about these powerful relationships? Let us know in the comments, and be sure to click on the cards on the screen for more interesting videos.